Alright, what's going on everyone? Supreme Kami here. So we're going to talk about these two units first instead of me doing an initial submitting because I feel like we are closing into that second year anniversary and people do want to know how good are these two units? Are these two units skippable or is this something you need to get? So right off the bat, we're going to talk about the Gundam Exia Repair 4 and I quickly, look through all what kind of stuff you can do, like what kind of EXQ, portrait and all that. I'll leave their EXQ video from the official the Japanese GBGW website and their EXQ down the description below because I have not actually pulled it myself yet, so I don't actually have not really tried out myself. So in those clips, you guys can pretty much get a good indication of like what kind of like EXQ move they can be doing and all that. So in terms of the Gundam Exia Repair 4, I am a little bit disappointed in how they built out this guy over here. So we do have 9 parts over here. You do have 3 different types of like melee weapon over here. 1 saber category and then 2 dual saber category over here. They just 2 of them, the dual saber category, they just have different portraits and all that. So let's quickly go over to the Exia head and see how this one is doing over here. So in terms of overall setup, the Exia Repair 4, I would say is underwhelming. Yeah, no, there's no other word to really describe it except for like those melee weapon. Yeah, the melee weapon is obviously top tier. It's gonna be ranked 1 in their own respective categories currently, so that's good. But all the other parts from like head to the backpack is a little bit disappointing. I don't know why. Can I even say they made the repair for like a long time ago and they just decided to push the button and like, all right, let's start them right now. In terms of the overall stat, 4K just a little bit under the 4500 mark, so it's a little bit disappointing obviously, but I can't really do much about that. In terms of word tag, in terms of word tag, that's a problem too because there isn't like a lot of good optimal like tag they can give this guy over here. So I feel like these are the most optimal. So Gundam type, high mobility, and close combat are the 3 word tags from this guy over here. Gundam size, obviously you don't want to run it onto like a melee unit, but I feel like for sub-slot purposes you can probably sub-slot in something that is because there are always those parts like shooter parts that has, for whatever reason, is extremely high like melee offensive stat. In that manner you can sub-slot those, but in terms of high mobility, I don't know if there are good amount of people running it. Obviously there are, right? But most general setup people are doing, like, I'm talking about like the top tier players, like the good optimal setup, they use obviously the T type shining in them, so you're gonna be running mobile fighter, pro tag, and close combat. So those are your 3 word tags. So so if you guys are not running for example mobile fighter, I feel like high mobility can be a good option to sub in because this part revolves around high mobility in terms of like those melee weapons and all that. So that's gonna be one important tag you want to be using. But in terms of pilot wise that has high mobility, is gonna be the infamous Stella, the build project Stella. She also has high mobility, and it also makes you want to use it. So it's gonna be a little bit more centric for that type. But if you can build it, that it's gonna be great. Because this one does have pretty insane stat in terms of like those melee weapons and all. But this one is extremely terrible. That's the way they kind of designed this one. It's not bad, right? It's okay. The first portrait, you're targeting that back part, which I feel like for a head, just for any part, I feel like I don't like it when they target specific one. Obviously, the back part is the custom EXO, so they have to like they want to do that. But this is probably not your best case scenario. And this is like a portrait. It's gonna do a gradual race of armor of 200. So what else does this? The permanent alteration for the Exia Repair. Bam. Literally the exact same thing over here. So you can probably go for like a standard version of it and it will be outright better in terms of portrait compared to a hard to level up to that portrait level 10. So yeah, pretty disappointing right there. So If you got the head, don't even bother alterating it. I feel like you don't really need it because the standard part Exia head is 10 times better than that, because first portrait is not restricted to the back part, and then second of all, the second portrait is not restricted to a T build, so you can be using like an infighter STP build and you'll be no problem. This one is just outright bad. Alright, moving on to the chest over here. The chest is probably one of the more redeeming stat over here. Look at that 7k armor over here. So this is very similar to our real project Sengoku Astrate Curly that is still running right now. That one, both of these does have 7k armor. So this one is gonna be the one you want to alterate if for example you are able to pull it, because that 7,000 armor is gonna come in clutch. I mean, depending on what kind of like arena mode we're having currently. So I do expect we should be getting a armor mode arena fairly soon. So this part would definitely come in play whenever that arena mode comes in. In terms of the portrait over here, yes sir, they decided to drop a little of these buff EXO effect up by 22%. 22% is not the premium one. If this was in replacement on that second slot, it will be up to 30%, which I think that 8 more percent EXQ buff is gonna make it 10 times better. You know what chest is around the same as this one? Let me show you guys right now. So in terms of the one I am currently using myself is gonna be this fella over here. Where's my melee build? This one, right? The one I am currently using it myself is gonna be the Gundam Kimura's Vidar. I didn't. Alright, I didn't really take. Wait. So in terms of overall stat, I think from this briefly look at it, let me see. Hold on. Let me max everything out. I think this one still has. This one does not have an upper advantage, to be honest. So this one is gonna be slightly less than what we have for the Exia report for, but this one is gonna be a lot more better. So this one is a premium slot they decided to put this on though. So this one is gonna get an effect up by 30%. So this one is gonna be just a little bit better. But in terms of this one, because they're swapped, this one's gonna be 5 less percent. But 8 more percent in EXQ buffing is gonna allow you to do significantly more than, for example, having this swap. So this one is just one of those options right there that I can think of currently. So I say if you were to have the chest of the Exia, please alterate it. That's the solid part. That's the one you want to be alterating if you do so pull it, right? So let's move on to the arm over here. I feel like the arm is going to be one of the more disappointing factor into a melee build over here. Because on a melee build, your arm has to be, your arm and your melee weapon has to be, probably the one that's gonna output a lot of those offensive stats. And this one being a EXQ, which means you cannot effectively subslot itself without losing two portrait slot. But in terms of overall stat, raw stat is gonna be 10k. Ooh, it looks excellent, right? It looks good on paper, 10k raw stat. But if you apply that 30% change gear, what you're left with is only going to be 11k. So it's not anything too impressive. The best one out there that has portrait is going to be this guy over here, which is the one I am currently using. This one outright comes in at 11,300, so just a little bit better. But this one has excellent portrait. Like, look at this. This is something you would want coming out of like, I would have want something like this for the repair 4, but obviously they did not give us that option. So I would say if you are someone who put on outfit, I feel like it's not something you really need to get. Even let's say, oh, I can always subslot in like a 1-to-1 scale, right? But guess what? Take a look at Force Info. So that's not a good example here. But let's say Exia works, right? Yeah, Exia works. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys 3 examples over here. Would you guys rather have these kind of archery, or the one I showed you guys, the build straight Galaxy Cosmo Ray? The crit rate up by 40% is just not good in this point in time in game. So I don't know why you would want to run crit. So you also have the L strike. Also, exactly the same thing, but this one gives you a reduction by 50%. It is good, but this one is like a one-time usage, so I'm not gonna count this one as being a good optimal subslot over here. So this gives you guys a good picture, like Although 1 to 1 scale is good for that parameter up, subslot bonuses, but I will always hold my ground saying that, if you can find an arm that has a good portrait, maybe the stat is a little bit low, still use it because you can always subslot together like the main part and then subslot itself again. That will always give you a higher parameter anyways. Uh, Unless you are able to find a 1 to 1 scale parts that fits both that word tag, then you can have it up to 40%, which will be a little bit more better than you're just subslotting itself. So that's a pretty good example right there, just to show you guys that although 1 to 1 scale is good, but like I said, just subslotting itself will always come out to be a better solution. Alright, moving on to the leg over here. Let's see what the leg have in store for us over here. The stat is almost approaching the 5k, so which is good. I would say in the melee perspective, I would say anywhere between closing in to 5k is really good. So this one is on the upper echelon already, so I'll give that to the leg over here. So this one is a pretty good portrait. But let's see here. They want you to be using a Gundam type on a melee build. Ah, gosh. I don't I don't know how I feel about that. Okay, that's this bothers me right here because on a melee build, I don't think you want to be using this because this trait right here or this portrait or vortex, excuse me, does not support any melee in any regard. So I would say the leg has to go. It's not gonna work unless your build is like a dual build, which means your melee and range the stat is evenly distributed. Let's say a good example like just a 40,000 to across the board, then this one can be good. But I feel like this game currently does not really support like a dual typing kind of deal. So uh, unless you're someone who does that, this one can be a good option. But other than that, yeah, having that Gundam side is gonna hurt if you are planning to have like pretty good stats for your melee build over here. So I'll probably skip on the leg over here because the stat is like it's okay, but the portrait just kind of kills it for me personally. Tags are gonna be close combat and Gundam type. Okay, yeah, this one I don't know. I wouldn't alterate it myself anyways if I would to pull it. Or the backpack is the cutscene is good. This one is good. If we pull this one, alterate it. Why? Because this one is going to give you a whopping 59% to your squad at max level, obviously. This one is, besides the Barbados Lupus Rex, this is the second highest, this is the second cutscene E skill part we have that has the 59% damage up over here, so this one is good. But I think a lot of people are, concerning, it's like, oh, you're not going to get any heals, there's no early addition effects, yes. But if you guys want that ultimate damage, this one is it. But if you guys do want some healing, those who probably dumped about 10%, so you're looking at about 49% or sometimes even 39, depending on like how many effects you can be getting. But if you ask me, is this something you want to alterate? Definitely 10 out of 10 you want to alterate it because of this 59%. You really do come across this 59%, but at base you're still looking at 50, which is good. Like this is an excellent cutscene is good to be alterating over here. So you guys are able to put the backpack over here. I feel like this is something you can alterate. So this one probably will not be on your main build or even subslotting. So this one I can say is a pretty safe one to be just using on the skin. The overall stat is not the most impressive in a way. So yeah, that's pretty much it from here. All right, moving on to those melee weapons over here. Yeah, there are. Look at those. Look at that base attack stat. Wow, look at that. That's good already. Like, look at that. It is also gonna offer like a minimum of melee and shot defense, so that is good. This one is gonna be a sword dance over here. Unleash a barrage of attack with your swords. So this one is probably, I feel like even an alteration, pre-alteration should do significant damage already. It should be B plus, right? B plus before alteration. So if you do alterate it, you are just gonna get two damage, like 2 great ups over here. So it will obviously do a little bit more damage, but I feel like this B plus power should be fine already. So but if you do want to alterate it, be my guest if you do want it. But let's take a look at the word text. So oh, never mind. also does have high firepower, so that's the one I missed over here. So Gundam side and high firepower. Okay, interesting. This one Gundam side and high mobility. So this one close combat. Yeah, okay. So they gave you three options over here. All three options are not good, obviously, because there's Gundam type, so it's a big no-no. But of all the three melee weapon over here, this one, the GM Bayonet, is probably the one that is gonna take it. It's gonna be placed number one, I feel like. Just because it offers this good, dual good, these two good parts right over here. When running high mobility, you do get an easy power boost by 30%. So that's why I'm saying you have to be kind of using high mobility in your build. If you can run this tag, this is probably going to be a good melee weapon you want to be upgrading to yourself over here. So the R4 over here does revolve around when buffed kind of effects over here. So make sure you have to be applying some buffer before you like do any EXQ damage or EXQ or otherwise you're not going to get the most optimal output just because of this over here. So make sure you are using some buffer. I feel like most cutscene, obviously if you guys are doing some cutscene EXQ, it is going to be it's going to have buff supply, so you're safe in that spot. But if you're, for example, using like those shorter cooldown EXQ, like the 30-second one, not all of them have buffing, so you got to be careful, you know, when choosing what kind of EXQ you want to be applying yourself into. So this one's going to be the best out of the three over there that I can say. This one is not bad as well, so this one requires a buffing as well. But this one is just lowering your reducing your enemy melee power by 30%. So if this is another route you guys want to be taking, this one is also a good option as well. Alright, moving on to the last weapon set from this guy over here. Wow. Look at those. Look at those stats. Even do defense over here. Nice. So this one, yep, went buffed as well, and then you get a 30% EXQ power boosting over here. So when one enemy shot down, reduce cooldown by 50%. So this one is only going to be one-time usage, so I don't think maybe that is going to be a good option. But I feel like you want to be choosing something else besides this one then. So overall, the Exia Repair 4 isn't the most impressive. The only one I would like to get, if like the only one you want to be alterating, if possible, when you get it, is probably going to be the chest and then a backpack. Even this sword over here is good. All the other options are just kind of like they're not as what I have expected. So up next we will be talking about the full armor double Zeta as well. Alright, to wrap things up here, so let's talk about the full armor double Zeta over here. So okay, so they want to pack this guy with 5 different types of EXQ over here. So 3 beam shot, and then no 4. Wait. 3 beam shots and then 2 physical EXQs over here. So let's take a look at the overall stat of the full armor that was Zeta over here. In terms of the shot department, it's pretty excellent, to be honest. This feels like a unit that is made recently compared to the Exia R4 is like what's going on here? Like I feel like they just recently bumped it up like the melee attack of all 3 of those weapons. Like okay, all right. So let's talk about the head over here. In terms of the full armor double Zeta over here, and to answer the overall stat, you are looking pretty good. But like I said, all 5 of these from head to backpack, I feel like, you know, it's more for like aesthetic, you know, just, you know, beaming down your opponents, because both the I'm gonna leave in the link in the description of like the actual EXQ showcase of them. I'll do my own personally if I am able to pull them myself later on down the road, for example, right? So in terms of the head and the leg, it's gonna be like a beam shot, you know, straight across the map, such an EXQ. So this one is gonna be your high mega particle cannon fire enemy ahead of your hyper mega particle cannon in your head. So this is similar to the one we already have in terms of like the enhanced double Zeta. That one actually does have an alteration as well, so if you guys have that one, it is literally like the same thing. So this one I feel like it's more for like, you know, in terms of like using it in the skin department. You can obviously use this in your main parts or even subslot it. I feel like this one will be a pretty good fitting subslot option for either the build project New Gundam, because New Gundam does actually have high heavy armor, or You can use this in the Sahara. I'm butchering the name, but the series we got like I would say a few weeks ago, that one has a long range if I recall and heavy armor as well. So this one, so I feel like the full armor double Zeta serves as a good sub slap partner for the build project and this Saharaza Zerbi. So yeah, that's just my opinion. You can also, if I recall, the crossbow Mao, that one also at long range. So you do have a few option selections in terms of what kind of subslotting you want to do. But obviously, just this one right here. I will just put this on a skin to be honest. So let's move on to the chest over here. So you got your 8-shot missile over here. So the former double Zeta is gonna be a monster in terms of spamming missile. So not surprised you're gonna do 8 shots. Um, Missile pops straight out from the chest over here. So I believe it's gonna. I don't know if it actually does like a EOE, but in terms of like watching it from the actual preview from Twitter, it seems like it does. So people are talking about this is very reminiscent of the center part Lightning Gundam backpack EX skill. So people are talking about it in terms of like, some similarity. I never actually tested out the Lightning Gundam backpack EX skill, so I cannot give you guys a full on confirmation. But what I have been hearing in terms of like this Discord channel and all that, so that's what they're talking about. This one comes in at a A minus power, excuse me. So I feel like you don't really need to alterate it, but you really want the stat overall. Like, yeah, I feel like you do want to alterate it, just because not only you do have a good EXQ, obviously you do have a pretty good shot defense and melee defense. So, for whatever reasons they want to run it back with the shot defense type arena, this one will be your best friend over here, coming in at that 6K margin over here. So this one is good. In terms of the tags over here, excuse me, heavy armor and long range again. So they are doing a little bit of a different kind of things over here. Not your traditional ace exclusive high firepower Gundam type. So this one, giving us a little bit more diversity. Long range is a good candidate when you are using that what is it, the right leg gear, that 3-star gear. It is pretty good option as well. So if you guys are not using, for example, like commander type, commander war tag, this one will fit as well over here. So right now you want to alterate it. I feel like you can just looking at those defense, you will probably give you guys a pretty good gauge. Like, all right, this one can be a good option, right? I think the head also does have pretty good defense, if I recall. Yeah, I mean this one is a little bit less, so this one may not be your highest priority per se, but the chest definitely coming at a 6K digit is like, wow, fantastic, man. Like, all right, moving on to the armor over here. In terms of the armor, like, man, the armor is doing one of two things over here. It also has a pretty good, sizable melee attack and shot attack. Like, this armor is doing two things at once. All right, yeah. So, but in terms of like those word tags, yeah, you probably won't be running it on like a melee build. But I'm just saying, like, just the overall sheer amount of stat this guy is like packing over here. This is good. So this one is gonna be doing your magazine type EX over here. A pierce and B plus B power. So I feel like B power may not, even after alteration, may not serve like a overall damage dealing over here. A pretty good standard option is probably, we have a lot of good standards primary alteration that have beam shots EQ over here. If I recall, let me just take a quick peep over here at the Legatus cannon over here. The Legatus Gundam, excuse me. Wow, cannon. Okay, I mean there is a Legatus cannon in terms of the EXQ from the backpack, but we take a quick peep at the, where is he at? He's somewhere here. I remember. I'm just trying to find it right now. Right here. The arm. The arm also is a beam Vulcan over here. So okay, never mind that. But this one is gonna give you a, no, never mind. Excuse me. My bad on this one. This one is actually a little bit worse because this one is a A minus pierce. So never mind. False alarm over here. But we do have some other good arm options. So like, not beam department and all that. We have the, where is it at? The duels Gundam. Yeah, this one comes in as a physical, but this one is gonna be B plus power. So this one should be a little bit more powerful in terms of like the overall, damage dealing. But there's a different type of what is it, ballistic, not ballistic, but you're switching from beam to physical. So portrait wise, it is gonna be affected depending on what kind of portrait you're running. So never mind that. So that's my bad right there. A little bit of a side check, but in terms of overall, in terms of the other side, 5K shot defense and melee defense. Okay, this one can be a good candidate for alteration if you purely want the defensive stat. But the arm right here is gonna come in at number 2. Okay, woo. My gosh, that's crazy, man. All right, so moving back to the leg over here. In terms of the leg, it's pretty good as well. In terms of like your defensive value, is like top of the line already, closing on to that 6K. So if you purely want the the defensive value, like for whatever reason, like I'm gonna continue mentioning the like the shot defense, even the like melee defense version of the arena mode. Like I feel like those are like the end game content. There's a lot of wells up in there, so this one can give you a little bit more, of a competitive advantage in that manner over here. In terms of ESQ over here, this is another one of those that is just gonna shoot across the map beam type over here. So this, I believe, okay. So this one actually shoots from your waist up, so from that little cannon, the mega particle cannon. So this one is the same as the head in terms of but this one, the leg is not gonna be like it's not gonna have that. So this one is a pierce and B plus power. This one I believe is just a power. Wow, wait. So this one should do a little bit more damage in terms of like just the power wise, but in terms of the piercing, the head is gonna have significant higher advantage in that manner. So I feel like in terms of DZ skill, I can't really like justify like, all right, do you want to get it or not? I feel like it's just more of like, do you want to sub slot it, or do you want to put it on your main part and then have something and sub slot it, because you don't want to run into a situation where you're gonna sub slot 2 E skill because you are gonna be missing 2 portrait. So I feel like in terms of overall stat, this one is definitely something you can put on like a main build for your shot unit, and then sub slot something to give yourself some kind of portrait. But overall, in terms of what this overall unit is packing, I feel like it's more for like the overall gimmick, just using what kind of E skill this one offers. So that's my opinion. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I wouldn't need to alterate it just because of the E skill over here, but then again, man, those stats are just killing it. Like yeah, that's it's really hard, like judging by the fact that all 5 parts are E skill based, so there's not really like too much of like a part trade we can talk about. So this one is 6K on the dot. Wow, okay. It's another one of those situations. Do you need it? Do you need it for the defensive value for specific arena mode? I feel like for most players, they don't like. You guys shouldn't even bother with it, because those are like those mode, or like those arena mode is only gonna last for a week, and then investing in something that is gonna last for a week may not be the best case scenario. But this one is gonna be in terms of E skill, it's gonna be hail of bullets. Yeah, no kidding. This one is raining missile left and right. This is what for double zeta is doing over here in terms of what the effects is over here. So keep this in mind. The category is the physical, right? But you're doing attacks alongside with like hyper mega cannon, double cannon. So in terms of like the shot values, that you need to take into consideration of that as well. So depending what kind of portrait you're dealing with over here, because some portraits targets beam and some target physical, right? So keep that in mind. So your damage output may varies depending on what kind of portrait you're slapping on. So 2 beam and 1 physical from what this is looking at over here. So but in terms of the effects, it's gonna raise your shot attack to your overall swap by 39%. Also beam resistant 19%. Okay, pretty solid in terms of like what this one would do. This one, it is gonna be one of those like 2 stage. So whenever like in terms of like your first part, from the Twitter review, like you can finish out one enemy, and then whatever is remaining, you can kind of do like an AOE. I don't think it was like an AOE, but you can target another enemy like after you finish out the first one, so that is good, I guess. So that's not bad. Like you don't. So in that fashion, you won't be wasting any like ESQ power, like damage overall. So pretty good. All right, so let's move on to parts. That has some portraits now. So wow, this one is packing some good offense, some defense over here. Not bad. But in terms of the portrait over here, so with T attribute minus or enemy melee power reduced by 30%. So that's okay. Not anything too groundbreaking for say. But this one is gonna specific to that back part, which I don't really like. So I'll just skip on this one. Probably not your best case scenario for alterations and all that. Wow. 11.3k shot attack, and then pairing that up with a 2300 shot defense. So you gotta come up to around 12k for that shot attack over here. So not bad. So this one is gonna be a double E skill buffing. The second one, it is gonna be buffing that head part, which is unfortunately, but it is what it is, right? Because this one does have a head part E skill. I would say head part E skill is not too common now. I wouldn't say there's a lot of good options. I feel like that is not the best case scenario, but this one is probably a skip as well if you guys are not running a hit EX skill. That's my opinion over here. But if you guys are, this one can be a good option as well. But let's move down to the beam rifle over here. So this is exactly as the one we have with the build project, but in terms of the build project Zeta, double Zeta Kingdom, that one is around 200 more, I believe, if I recall. Is either 200 or 100 more in terms of overall stat? But this one is going to be a little bit easier to use because you're not really specific to using two different tags. Because the build project one, you are forced to use high firepower as well. So for whatever reason you cannot use high firepower, the build project build rifle is like completely useless. So this one is good. This one is a little bit more general. This one is a little bit more universal because you are for sure gonna have to use ace exclusive in your build anyways for a shot build. So this one is overall pretty good. Good stat overall in terms of the war tag. This guy is gonna be comprised of ace exclusive high heavy armor and then your long range. So this one is pretty good overall. I feel like for the full armor double Zeta over here, they did a pretty good job. In terms of the portrait wise for the last three, for the weapon set over here, but for the 5 parts over here, man. They're really giving us a hard choice over here because it's all 5 EA skill over here, which you cannot really run all 5 of them. It is gonna really depend on like what kind of EA skill you want to be putting for that slot 3 out of 5 over here. But overall, in terms of whether or not you want to alterate it, it just it is gonna be a little bit more personal to you all, depending what kind of part you really need. Because I can't really use like I cannot really like justify or give you guys like, oh, I'll trade this E skill because it does tons of damage, right? Because my build and you guys' build is completely different, in the sense of like what kind of portraits and stats I'm packing. I may do like 1 million, for example, in let's say the head E skill. But for some of you guys, that might difference because of what kind of portrait I'm running. So in terms of E skill, I'll leave that up to you guys. If you guys do pull it, what kind of E skill you want to be alternating and all that. So with that being said, this is just a quick review for the for these two, the Exia R4 and then the full armor double Zeta over here. So with that being said, I will catch you guys all on the next one.